Good evening, everyone. Greetings and salutations. Welcome to episode 74 of New York Red Bull Discussion Group, the podcast. I'm Gary Redmond. My partner, Miguel Nunez, will be joining me very shortly. Let's talk about a little bit what's going to happen tonight. Of course, naturally, we're going to talk about the match review. We're going to talk about Red Bull New York and, of course, FC Cincinnati and, of course, the U.S. Open Cup run that came to an end. And, of course, then we're going to team then move for some crazy reason to the Pacific Northwest to meet up a very tough Seattle Sounders team, which was very difficult to win there. And of course, we'll talk about what the result was, which was a 1-0 loss. And of course, naturally, shortly after that, they have a midweek game of all places. We're going to be over to Fort Lauderdale to take on called Inter Miami, and before coming back home, of course, to take on Orlando City. But of course, we have a special guest with us tonight from Red Bulls Nation, the one and only, the incomparable Michael Batista will be with us to talk all about the magic of the Open Cup and, of course, local teams. And there are a lot of them in the metropolitan area. Just simply pick one and then support your local club and why you should do so. And of course, as always, we have, of course, Gotham FC. Then they went down to the district and take on the Washington Spirit. And of course, New York Red Bull 2, they played two games this week. One was a win. One was a deflating loss after having a lead. Of course, we're going to have our final thoughts and, of course, predictions. Now, for some reason, if you missed the live show, which is happening right now as we speak, don't sweat it. The recording is going to be available both in our YouTube channels and Spotify.com the very next day. You can also check out our previous episodes there as well. On our YouTube channel, which was recently constructed, and it is online right now, there'll be more episodes being loaded as we go along. And finally, if you have any questions, comments, hot takes, complaints, what have you, we do happen to have an email address. So feel free to send them our way, because after all, this is your show. We want to be able to get better as we go on episode after episode. And you can reach us very quickly, even when we're not on air, at NYRBDG, the podcast, at gmail.com. Once again, it's RBDG, the podcast, at gmail.com. So as I bring in my partner tonight, which is none other than the Miguel Nunez, dude, you've been fired up for the last couple of days, and starting, of course, naturally with the U.S. Open Cup. There's disappointment, but there was a silver lining, or you think otherwise? This I want to hear from you.
Well, it was the U.S. Open Cup. It was one of those things. I'm not disappointed. I'm not disappointed. As a matter of fact, I'm not disappointed. It was, you know what? It was a good showing by the lads. They gave it their all. Okay, that's all you can ask for. Okay. Now the penalties are a crapshoot, Gary. Okay. Now the only thing I'm going to tell you that there's one thing that I was disappointed, and we did talk about this.
Yes, okay? We did. Yes, we did.
They brought Coronel out onto the field just in case Brian Mera got a second yellow for stepping off the line during the penalty shootout. Blah blah blah. They should have put Mr. Coronel in goal. In goal. Cold? No. Coronel cold.
I understand the rationale.
No. Okay. I do not think you know what? Mera might as well have been cold and walked in right there to take the penalties. Okay? I told you this, Gary.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
He was beyond awful in those penalties. I think Coronel, could have saved one of those, Gary. Okay? That's my opinion. I don't know what anyone else in the audience thinks. I know Brian Mera is a loved guy, but come on. They couldn't have got it. They didn't get it done in regular time, blah, blah, blah. But at that point,
good evening. How you doing?
Yeah, at that point. No, Lisa. I see her comment. I disagree with you, Lisa. I think Coronel could have stopped one of those.
And that's all it takes, just one, right?
But just one. Gary, you saw it, right? Like Mira
I was there live and in person.
Oh my God! No.
I was shaking my head after the second one. I was like,
I strongly disagree.
Not a good decision. I know
there
he
would.
Go.
So you agree with me? You agree with me?
I understand. Okay, Troy would have probably been pillared, but it would have been the right decision considering that it was made the difference between whether your cup run was going to end right there or you were moving on. It's a touch go situation. I mean, you gave your goalkeeper their assignment, but what I saw, sitting him throwing the pipes on a penalty, before we even get to that point, how do you dominate a team in the second half to the point where the team was, FC Cincinnati was coughing up the ball left and right, practically almost literally handing the game to the Red Bulls, and you don't take advantage of it.
Yeah, Gary,
you don't. That was even more maddening than the penalty kick. I was hoping that it wouldn't get to that part because I had a feeling, Miguel. I had a feeling. I was like, "This is it. Okay. We go to PKs. We're gonna, we're gonna PKs. We're gonna blow this one." But we wouldn't have gotten there in the first place if Mr. Van Zier hadn't come up with once again his ninth inning home runs, which he certainly has a penchant to. Now, once he gets 100% fit, I don't know when that's going to happen.
And
maybe we'll start seeing some goals.
Well, let me just comment on Tom Pobbins' comment there. The lack of finishing during regulation hurt.
It did.
It's been the same thing the whole season. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that in regards to this past game that just happened. Okay?
There's no if. Okay.
Now, and
take that word out. There's no if. God. It did. Okay. How many times have I banged my head? I mean, I've had I slammed my pencil writing down, doing my article, and I slammed my pencil down by 4 times. Like, oh, come on, guys. Seriously. They're handing you the game, guys. Get in there and engage. Get the ball from them and take it to them.
Lisa's comment again. Coronel's terrible with PKs in general. No. You could not have been worse than Brian Mira in that penalty shootout, okay? I'm sorry.
Well, bottom line is
Gary, Gary, it's highly ironic that that Dante Van Zier went from the hero to the GOAT, in the penalty shootout.
Then to go.
I think. Yeah, I mean,
it was a bad PK. It was.
What are you going to do? And another thing, the only good thing about us being out of the U.S. Open Cup is that we don't have to see one of those BR Live broadcasts. Okay. I didn't go to the game.
We're going to talk about that when Michael Batista when he gets on when he gets on air. We're definitely going to talk about that because
a quarter of the screen on the right side you couldn't see the action because it was all comments.
I've heard people were like livid. They were like, what is wrong with the camera angle here? But this is what happens.
I will say that somebody in the comments referred to Dante Van Zier as Dante Clanzier. So I had to laugh. I know it was in Portes, Gary. I had to laugh. Thank you.
And when he scored, that said Dante's Inferno. Yeah. But
no.
I wanted to give the guy props. But of course, naturally, shortly after that game, then we took a trip over to the Pacific Northwest, a beautiful place, beautiful location in a wonderful country and a wonderful nation, and to the city of Seattle, where we rarely do well there.
Yeah, I'm not shocked that it was a loss, Gary. Let me tell you. Let me be frank, okay?
It's been a while since we had a win up there. I mean, can't remember the last time we had a win up there. But again, a defensive mistake led to a goal. I mean, credit to Seattle. They know how to spread their, they know how to go to their wings. They know how to spread them wide. And when they do, hilarity ensues. But here's where a concern of mine comes up. what was Dylan Nealis watching when Jordan Morris was sashaying down the middle of the park, and got the ball in the net at close range? What was he looking at?
Right down the middle. He's more concerned about putting his arm up for offside instead of just when the ball is played, just booking back there. Okay, and he's like this, and the dude Morris leaves him in the dust. Okay.
Yeah.
And then,
hello, goodbye. I'm scoring a goal. What are you going to do?
You know what?
You can't stop me.
Hassan and Dam and the other Nealis. Come on. That was the worst three backs.
It was really on Dylan because they were supposed to slow him down. It was, he came right up the middle, and by the time he was already in the box, and you're right, you're 100% right. Nadam, who was up until that point, was playing pretty stellar, okay, and Sean Nealis, it was too late for them to recover and try to get but it was too late. By the time they tried to make a move to try to slow down Jordan Morris, who was one of the better ballers that we've seen in MLS. Of course, he's a USMS national team player. He doesn't miss from those spots. He just doesn't. I mean, and it was 1-0. Seattle. Shortly after that, he celebrated, got hurt, got substituted. From there, Seattle just hung on and do what they always do. They hang on for but if not for a lack of trying, where Elias Manuel had, I feel really.
Don't get me started on that guy.
You know what? I don't want people, dogging, Manuel like they dog, when like they dog Tom Barlow. I really don't want them dogging. I mean, an inch here, a dip here. We're talking 3 goals, okay, for this kid. Okay, it's not uncommon. You've watched soccer for I don't know since it seems like you were born. But how many times have we seen forwards slam posts, hitting bars? I mean, that's not that. I mean, it's not for lack of trying. That to me, that doesn't fit the term of he sucks. Okay, the dude's shooting. It's just that his accuracy is just not great. I mean, but Gary, those goals will come. I mean, but next thing you know, he's not starting. How are you going to get into a rhythm where you're going to bench the guy just because he misses here and there? You got to give this guy trigger time. No?
Yeah, Gary, he should have had 1, if not 2 goals. He had a point-blank header right in the middle that if he puts it to either side of the goalkeeper. I can't disagree with that.
Agreed.
Either side of the goalkeeper is a goal, but no, he puts it right at the goalkeeper, okay? And then, as a matter of fact, that second opportunity, bro, he took it like one of the real Brazilians. It was a long ball. He had the touch.
It was a beautiful ball from Cáceres.
Wow. Beautiful ball, but Manuel had a lot to do. Okay, he took the touch. It was a perfect touch.
Plus, he had a guy draped all over him like a cheap suit.
Well, I mean, he left that guy in the dust, and then it was just the goalkeeper that came. Once again, either side, he could have just passed it into the goal, either side, and it would have been a goal. But
I sometimes wonder how much. I sometimes wonder and agree, and I sometimes wonder how much practice you have during training to work on angle shots, if any, or do you work on just runs? I mean, I'm not there at a training center. I will be later on this summer, but I sometimes wonder. I'm like, okay, forwards literally have a split second to make a decision. Okay, especially when you have a defender draped, maybe 1, maybe 2 draped all over you. Some of the greats get a shot off, like in basketball. They get that shot off and they get that goal. They get that basket, they get their goal. Manuel, I like his game. I like his hustle. Okay. It's not like for lack of trying. Okay. But when you see him, make misses like that and very close ones at that, mind you, you have to wonder, is it reaching into his psyche? We've interviewed him a couple of times. His psyche is good. His attitude is good. He's just frustrated, just like the rest of us. We're frustrated for him because we're saying, hey, he should have had 3 goals by now. We said this about BWP. How many times have he was been point blank range and he would blow a sitter? Okay. It's feast or famine with these guys. Okay. So I understand the frustration, but it's hard for me to tell the fan base to be patient, Miguel, when they already lost, when they're beyond lost it. Okay. So
listen, Gary.
That's like telling you. That's like telling you Arsenal fans that, hey, you're gonna win next year, and then, I got to duck because you're gonna throw brickbats at me. But
I'm gonna tell you something. The thing about BWP is he couldn't get it done in the postseason where he had his chances to stick it in. That game at Toronto comes to mind where he could have gone around the keeper and put it into the empty net. Now, if Elias Manuel, if we make the playoffs and he is able to stick it in during the playoffs, that's what I'm looking for. Okay,
that's what I'd like to see. I mean, that's something I would definitely like to write about him. Say, okay, how this guy and Van Zier saved the day.
Yeah, exactly. Because you can't win MLS Cup in May.
You can damn sure lose it.
You can't win MLS Cup unless you make the playoffs. Okay.
So, speaking of which, you and I took a look at the standings this afternoon. Lisa, we're going to talk about the Elias Coronel Tortilla slap video, which is not making all the rage, which is hysterical at this point. We'll talk about that in the middle, in about a minute. When I'm looking at the table, the Eastern Conference table, you and I are looking at it right now. The Red Bulls at the moment is sitting in 13th place with 16 wins. Your team, after 15 games, has a grand total of 3 wins. 3. That's it. Okay. The good news is 1 win puts these guys literally in the laps of CF Montreal. As far as a playoff spot, where they go from there is really up to them. This is going to be a very busy Wednesday, cool kids. They're not playing alone. There are other teams also playing, so they really need to make the most of it if they can. You're playing a team that is sitting dead last. You want to talk about angst, okay? I know we get on our team a lot when we were sitting on last place. Imagine for a second that you are an Inter Miami fan right now. Okay, you had visions of Messi dancing in your heads. There's no guarantee that he's going to show up at your club, and it was supposed to be a club doing big things. They wound up getting Josef Martinez from Atlanta. Why we weren't in the sweepstakes of that, I have no idea. But I digress. Maybe his asks were too high. I don't know. Maybe he didn't like the idea of playing in northern climates. Bottom line, he's dressing for the pink and black, and they're sitting in last place. Now, I would like to be excited about this game, Miguel, except for one thing. You've seen it. Carlos have seen it. Lonray have seen it. Mark have seen it. This team has a propensity to play against teams below them in the table and lose. We can't. Sure, we're not going to overestimate any team, especially in Major League Soccer. But if you look at the standings from top to bottom, Miguel, I can understand why fans are a little upset, about why we're not in the thick of things quite yet, why we're still stuck at 3 wins, where we should be at 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't know. Nobody is catching Cincinnati at that point. They got 10 wins, 33 points. And, of course, they're, on top of the supporter sheet. But we're not going to talk about FC Cincinnati. I'm done talking about them. What I'm talking about is how we're going to get past Inter Miami before facing off Orlando, who sits at 7th. Okay, I'll ask you. Based on what we both looked at, they got a shot or not? What do you see? How do you see this?
Yeah,
on paper, they should, right?
Yeah, they certainly have a shot. I was watching that Inter Miami's game against Orlando, and just like Orlando just walked all over them. Right. Inter Miami got a goal very late, but they were beyond horrible. Okay. However, I will remind you that there's not a better team to play if you want to get your season going than the New York Red Bulls. Okay. Red Bulls are going away to Miami. Yeah. Everybody was predicting that win for the Red Bulls against Montreal, up in Montreal. Everybody predicted victory. I said, you know what? They're going to lose. And I was right. So you know what? This might
we
be
don't
one
do
of
well
those,
in State Saputo. We don't do that.
This might be one of those situations, Gary. You know, I don't know what to say. You know what? They should have enough to win. They should have enough to win against Inter Miami. So I'm going to predict the win right now. If we're talking about the Orlando game, Orlando's coming here. They have a pretty good team. Okay,
very good team.
Yeah,
I mean, they mopped the floor with us the last time we faced those boys.
Yeah, and it's fireworks night, you know. But I'm thinking all the fireworks.
The atmosphere would be nice. I mean,
everybody shows up. I've called it. They should have a fireworks night every other week. You know, that they're home. Okay. Look, fireworks bobblehead alternate, and the stadium is full. Okay, yeah, there you go.
Thank goodness you're not the GM, man.
Come on.
I see it the other way around. Okay, you're predicting a loss for some reason. You know, I'm predicting a win.
No, but I'm predicting a win against Miami.
Right. We're focusing. I'm predicting a win as well, and I'll tell you why.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead.
At some point, the bleeding has to stop. At some point,
okay.
Everyone to a man, everyone we spoke to, they all agree. They're a little frustrated where the focus is not there. They got their foot on the neck of the opponent, and somehow, some way, they get loose and turn around and kick their butt. I mean, there is nothing more humiliating than having that happen. That said, Inter Miami is having a season where coaches get fired. Okay, they had big doings in Miami. They were supposed to be the team this year. Everyone in MLSsoccer.com has said so, and even said so when they brought in Mr. Martinez from Atlanta. He was supposed to be their big home run hitter. Well,
he hasn't been the same. He hasn't been the same since he got that ACL injury.
No, he's got not one, two. He's got two ACL injuries. I mean, it's a very hard ask for a player in his caliber to climb mountains with those knees and ankles, which is what happens when you play on turf all those years. Which is why I hate the damn plastic grass. But hey, I digress. You're not a principal tenant. Then you don't get to make those decisions. You don't own that field. The Atlanta Falcons do. Hawks, wrong team. The Atlanta Falcons own that. Earn that turf. So no, you're a you're a second-class citizen. As impressive as your attendance numbers are, and they will always be. Tip my cap to them. Thank you very much. They do have they have something that we don't, which is something we covet, which is a star over their crest. In 2018, when we literally gave it to them in the Eastern Conference Final, something that will always be a stick in my craw and everybody else's. But back to Inter Miami, they're in a bad way. But we said that against a lot of teams that we face at the bottom of the table, and somehow we said that about Montreal. Remember, they're in a bad way. So this is the thing about the Red Bulls that should drive everybody nuts. That you think that you'll be good enough against a team on paper that should be able to beat, and you don't. Okay, at the end of the game, what am I seeing? I'm hearing excuses. I'm hearing a lot of, oopsie, we lost to a bad team. No, for once, I like the bad coach juju is excuse is not out the window. Troy's in charge now, and the way I see it, Lisa, Tom, everyone else, if Troy wants to earn that contract, he's got to turn that around and show that he's able to beat teams that you're supposed to beat. Simple as that. I don't know what kind of, what type of, talk, team talk that you have with your boys. You need to let them know, hey, we got an opportunity here to not only get out of the basement, we're not in the basement anymore, but we can get into the mix and stay there and start climbing. It's up to you. I like how every press conference, Miguel, he says that the players know their responsibilities. Okay, he literally leaves it to them. Say, okay, hey, you want to be a good side or not? And they have responded. Okay, they're not worried about making a mistake on the Struber. They're playing well. Now, this is where the metal meets the road. I like to see them, take that opportunity, seize it, and make it theirs. Up until then, I can able to say, okay, we're back. I'm seeing a lot of tweets and everyone else saying we're back. We're back? No. We're back when we're above 500. Right now, because we're not. Okay, we're back when we have 500. Yes, yeah. I know you're booing me, Lisa. Yes, I had to bring that up just to remind everyone how close we came to greatness. And then somebody decided to take that wonderful car of ours and popped it in the ditch. But
yeah, Gary, and
go ahead.
I mean, let me remind you, you look at that team where we almost achieved greatness, and you look at the team now.
No, of course not. I mean,
it's
we're
like
talking apples and
apples and oranges, Gary.
I mean, I'm no fool.
I don't know. I don't know how it's been allowed to get this way. Okay.
We can discuss that on another show.
And
you're
listen,
right.
Mr. Lesane, he can't, he's not a magician. Okay. Okay. No. He's got the players that he has to work with. Okay.
Which is probably the reason why I said, and by the way, got yelled at in the group that we need to just ease up. Are we getting ahead of ourselves? I mean, it just goes to show you how fans are desperate to, for victory. They want to see wins. Okay, after seeing losses and tie draws left and right. Okay, I get it. But as I said, when Struber went exit stage left, okay, although the coach was gone, the problems still remain. Let Miguel and I remind you guys, let me go through what they call the standings update. We're going to continue to do this. This is now week 15. Right now, FC Cincinnati leads it all. They rule the roost right now with 33 points in the East. And, of course, they're in the top of the table overall in the Supporters' Shield race, followed by Nashville, New England, Philadelphia, Atlanta, Charlotte, Orlando City, DC United, and, of course, the aforementioned Club de Foot Montreal. That the season ended right here tonight. Those guys will be going on to the playoffs, and we're sitting at home wondering what went wrong. But we do know what went wrong. After that, you got the Columbus Crew, you got NYCFC, Chicago Fire, then us, then Toronto, then Miami. Now, if you look at the standings from top to bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 5 teams out of the 15 teams are within a single point of making the playoffs, of being in the playoffs. All they got to do is win, which basically shows you just how weak, tremendously so, the Eastern Conference is right now. The Western Conference, that's a whole different story. Seattle is sitting up there on top, followed by St. Louis City. What a story that club is, Miguel. I mean, they are basically every time I turn around, they're on the highlight reels. People
Mr.
can't
Cornell.
stop talking about them.
Mr. Cornell.
I mean, and of course, he's run by an assistant coach, which we had, and had to deal with Struber for 3 years. Then, of course, Los Angeles City FC Dallas, San Jose Earthquakes, Minnesota United, Houston Dynamo, Vancouver Whitecaps, Portland Timbers. You want to talk about how tight the East is? Anyone who needs to take a look at the West? All those teams I just mentioned, Miguel, literally 1 point on top of each other.
Okay.
They're as stacked as as planes trying to fit in, into an airport during holiday season. They're literally on top of each other. Okay. Then you got Austin FC. Then, of course, Real Salt Lake, Sporting Kansas City, Colorado Rapids, and I can't believe that I'm actually looking at this. LA Galaxy dead last. Some of their supporters were yelling at their players, wondering what's going on. They want to see the GM and the president. They want to know, hey, how did a once proud franchise, can't believe I'm actually saying that about the LA Galaxy, a once, proud franchise winding up in the gutter.
But Gary, you know what? The LA Galaxy has won MLS Cup, I don't know, like 6 times, something like that. Mm-hmm. They won the U.S. Open Cup a bunch of times. Okay, but
you know what? Trophies. We
at
don't.
The end, at the end of the season, we'll have the obligatory post from one of our fans or 2 or 3 on the groups. Oh, look how much they spent. Compared to how much we spent, and look. We might have made the playoffs and they didn't.
Oh, by the way,
but that's it.
John has handed us this nice little nugget. Chris Klein, basically the target of everyone's ire over there in Carson.
I would hire him. I would hire him right now.
You're insane.
No, I'm sorry. What? Dennis Hamlin? I would hire Chris Klein right now. I would be calling him right now to hire him. I'm sorry. Thank you.
You had me silenced right now.
No. I'm sorry. No. Let's stick with Hamlet. Why not? Okay.
Yeah, well, it's not like me. It hasn't been working and stuff like that. We can do this all day, every day. But first, of course, we got our friend Michael Batista standing by with us. He's going to talk about the magic, of course, of the Open Cup and everything else in the local scene, of course, of soccer. But before we even do any of that, there were some final scores on week 15, and we're going to get to that. And then we're going to have a nice little chat with Michael. Stick around with us. Here's week 15's final scores. Couple of announcements before we get into that. Of course, naturally, the game thread will take place, of course, 6:30, and of course, on Saturday, Helene Kraft Rudolph will take you through that. Thank you through that game thread, and it's always a fun time. And of course, naturally, there's fireworks night after that. But before we even talk to that, this gentleman who basically needs no introduction, he's been around in the New York metropolitan soccer scene all over the place. He's one of my esteemed colleagues, of course, as we sit in the press box and write about the Red Bulls left and right, sometimes in the heat and the rain and the snow and in pain. We're talking about always a pain. You usually see him in New York Red Bulls too. Here they're talking about the young guns. He is the one and only, the incomparable Michael Batista. Michael, good evening, and welcome on to the show, man. Always great to have you.
Thanks for having me. You're making me sound like Michael Lewis with that introduction. I think you got the Michaels mixed up.
Well, it's true. Tell me something about the Open Cup. From the tournament to fans. I mean, we've seen the tweets, we've seen the memes. People having problems trying to, first of all, watch this event, okay, but can't. What do you think is the reason why it's not given the gravitas that other, national championships are given?
It's an interesting question, and one that I try to balance myself between being a conspiracy theorist, being a homer, being and trying to just digest all the information and make it make sense. I can tell you this. This year has been an absolute S show. It's been terrible. And it is US Soccer's fault, but it's not because the federation is in a seven-figure deficit. It is in a deficit because of COVID. It is in a deficit because of the ESPN contract lapsing, and ESPN saying, "Hey, we don't need that anymore." US Soccer looking elsewhere for it. Because remember, ESPN had the contract where every Open Cup game was streamed from first round up until final, all on ESPN Plus. And COVID screwed that up, and I think we only got 2 tournaments out of it, but it was still great. That's a lot of cameras. That's a lot of content, and that was a big price tag. And US Soccer footed a lot of that bill. So once Turner
producing any sporting event on TV is not simple. It never is.
It's not. And this is also, you have to understand, as someone who went to like multiple games for last year and this year, especially last year, you saw them bring the trucks. You saw like the TV trucks at Montclair State for FC Motown versus Westchester United, which is wild. It was awesome, but it was wild. So when Turner took over because the whole deal with with US Soccer was, hey, we're here for the national team and US men's and women's soccer. What else you got? You got the Open Cup? Yeah. And now that Zoom and MLS are separated, US Soccer and MLS rights are separate too. So they just had national team and Open Cup. So Open Cup is always an afterthought. And putting it on YouTube is, on one hand, the games are free, but the quality is down. And that means that the rest of the games have to be sourced by the teams themselves. And on one hand, you have amateur teams trying their best. On the other hand, you have MLS teams don't care. And you've had experiences where there have been MLS teams who say, we're not going to broadcast this, and the amateur team has to step up because they want to show their fans at home the game. So I guess to go back to your second question, why isn't it respected as much as other national tournaments, or why isn't it as treated the same way? It's funny because outside of us sickos, who cares about the Voyager Cup? Outside of Australia, who cares about the FA, their FA Cup, the one where an amateur team or a non-Division 1 team has to get to the Final Four? Outside of Austria and outside of Red Bull Salzburg, who cares about the Austria Cup? It's never supposed to be. The only thing that matters is the FA Cup. It only matters if your national tournament is respected by your own country. And to me, the FA or the US Open Cup is respected by US soccer fans because of mismanagement and by how it's presented by US Soccer, and also just by how professional teams handle it. We had some good stuff with the ESPN partnership because it put it on a bigger pedestal, but once that went away and it just kind of slid back, you kind of saw the ugly truth of where it is on the totem pole.
I guess my next question goes to a sore subject among soccer fans: promotion and relegation. Every year we see this. Every year they do this tournament. All the zealots, all the diehards about this subject come out of hiding. They like to romanticize about why MLS should, even consider promotion or relegation. Let me just say this. Before you answer, I like the idea of promotion relegation. but it comes with a caveat. It also comes with a price. Okay. Luckily, we don't have a first division that is strong and robust like the English Premier League, where if you go down, your chances of trying to make it back up are slim to none, unless you're one of those power clubs in the championship or in the first division. Second, there's a lot of guys who put a lot of skin in the game back in the day where Major League Soccer was even considered an afterthought. Okay. That's a that's a really tall ask. I mean, say for example, Michael, you put in 250 mil, okay, for a team back in 1995, and now it's about six. The worth of that team is now 6 times that. And you're trying to tell me that you're going to be okay losing probably half the worth of that team if they're in the drop zone in 3 places. Most guys are not even going to go for that. Okay. That's what a lot of these folks seem to, don't understand. But whenever I see this, here comes the argument. Well, you should do it because England does it. You should do it because all the teams around it. I agree. But, threats, memes, guys like Westerfeld, who basically is a troll, gets everybody
Please
upset.
Don't mention his name.
I don't like mentioning his name, but I'm just using it as a context where the argument is really falling on deaf ears. So what I wanted to know on what's your take of the whole pro rel argument. Is it sustainable where you should let the where the lower teams should get first draw then MLS?
That's 2 different things. If we're talking about the Open Cup,
right,
or when you say teams get first draw, are you talking about right of first refusal in the Open Cup?
Correct.
For
That's
hosting?
precisely what I'm talking about.
Okay, so I like that question more than I do pro rel because God, I don't want to talk about pro rel. So let me talk about that one real quick. I love that idea, and to the point that I love the right of first refusal idea for the Open Cup for rounds 2 and 3, maybe even 4, depending if we still split up MLS teams. But I think 2 and 3 especially, because I think that we've seen it multiple times that it's very hard to sell a ticket midweek short notice for these MLS teams because it's not league, it's weird for them, and we've never really gotten it. There's a couple teams that can, we've never really gotten it. I think that giving the right of first refusal to a lower division team, whether that be USL, NISA, amateur, it works out better because it means that the game is going to have a better atmosphere. It also, to me, has this air of if you're a first division team, or let's just say this, if you're a second division team, let's say it's a second round and USL enters, and they have to go on the road to play an amateur team. You are the higher division team. You should have no problem beating the tar out of this team because you're higher. You got more money. Like it's just it seems basic to me because if you come out and say to me, "Oh, the field's plastic. Oh, the field's so ugly. I can't go on. I'm Zlatan. I can't do this." You're why are we paying you millions of dollars to cry and not do your job? So I always kind of have that thought process of the MLS teams and the higher division teams always have the higher payroll, better players. Give them a slight disadvantage give them the slight disadvantage, give the other team the advantage, let them sell it out and look better. And so that way, if/when the MLS team wins, they go on to the next round. Their fans have a little momentum to build on. So if they earn the right to host, more will come out that way. It just works out better in my opinion. And then also you have great atmospheres like you do, like you said in Birmingham this last round, in Pittsburgh, these sold out stadiums with like 6,000 people. No offense, we had like 4,000 people at Montclair State. It was nothing like Pittsburgh, and it's only minus 2,000. But I would love for that to happen, and I'd also think that as a competition, it needs to get rid of the MLS hosting tax. Now, do you know about the MLS hosting tax?
I do.
Do you know how much the MLS hosting tax is?
I don't.
It's $20,000, sometimes $25,000.
Okay, 25K
MLS team. I have heard the arguments for and against it that if you host an MLS team, you should sell enough tickets to make up the difference. I don't. But then you also have people like Taylor Twellman who say lower division teams hosting would bankrupt them. It can't be both ways. Either it's going to bankrupt them and we shouldn't have the fee, or the fee makes sense and they're just going to make the money back selling 5,000 tickets at $10 a pop or whatever it is, and it's fine, or whatever the math is. I went to school for journalism, not math, man. But yeah, no. And on your pro rel thing, it's not going to work with MLS right now.
No,
because it's a franchise system. It would work within USL, and Jake Edwards did the greatest con of all time, where he kept teasing it for 10 years and saying it for 10 years. And then guess what? He goes, I'm done. Peace. Oh, he relegated himself out of a job before he put his teams in relegation. It was ridiculous. That's the only way it's going to work, where you see stuff in USL. Maybe Nisa was a hope for a while, but it's just it's a train wreck, bro. But if it's only going to work if you have things like USL do it from within, and if it works that way,
great.
Maybe. But I don't see MLS is not going to start it out of the goodness of their own hearts.
Yeah, Miguel has some questions about the logo. Yep.
Did I hit everything there? Or
you did.
You know what, Gary? Let me just chime in regarding the promotion and relegation debate. It's never going to happen because of the franchise system. I do agree with Michael. These owners are paying. Some people just paid $500 million so they can have a franchise in San Diego. Okay. Now the other thing is. And then stadiums have to be built, now another thing is that those would-be second division teams or third division teams or whatever, I think they're just not viable, Gary. Okay.
In one way.
A lot of them go because I followed USISL, which became the USL later on, and just a lot of these teams would just drop out because of finances all the time. I used to be a fan of the North Jersey Imperials. I used to go to all their games, okay, and boom, they were gone in like 2001. I think it was their last season, and that's just the way it goes in the lower divisions. Okay, now. I would say that promotion and relegation would bring to MLS, like that owners could not be complacent, okay, because of the threat of teams going down.
And so they go into an arms race with better players around the world.
That's I don't know about arms race.
Literally unaffordable for most fans.
No. You could have as well. You could have some sort of salary cap as well, but get better players, man. Be cunning. Okay?
I see what you're getting at.
As
I often warned, a lot of guys in the group, I'm like, okay, I'm all for better players, but your tickets are affordable right now, and you think your tickets are going to be affordable if they bring in big name players after big name players? Then you'll be like Toronto FC right now. Who at
you're gonna be like Inter Miami with Inter Miami's resale ticket value right now is very, very high for a very specific reason.
Toronto FC has one MLS Cup, Gary, but that's neither here nor there. Okay. And plus, you got to be in it to win it. So they plucked down a lot of money. They got an MLS Cup. They have sucked a bunch of years, and they're plugging down the money. Huh?
Didn't they go to 4 MLS Cups straight? Them in Seattle? Toronto
FC? I don't even know.
I think they did. They went to like 3 or 4 in a row.
3, actually.
3, thank you.
Okay, yeah. So then, but in the grand scheme of things, the 20 to 25 million per season that the rosters were being paid, it's not a heck of a lot of money in the grand scheme of things to these billionaire owners. Okay. Now I'm going to comment in regards to one of the comments in the chat here. Tom Podvin, never happened. We are a playoff culture. Period. Okay. I'm gonna have to disagree, really. Because I'm not, because you know what, I'm not talking about that, everybody's American here, but football is a global game, and by football I mean soccer. I don't mean throw ball. Okay, NFL, baseball, whatever, that stuff, playoffs all day, whatever. Okay, but MLS isn't even the most popular league here. Okay.
So what you're saying is promotion and relegation would probably elevate that to a point?
People understand promotion and relegation. Okay. It would make games mean something. Okay. Another thing, you know what? A lot of these guys like Ted Westervelt and whoever it is on Twitter, we
will not mention his name.
No, but okay, fine.
We're getting brickbats from everybody, including Michael.
They'll advocate like.
I can put my tinfoil hat on soon.
No, but look, they'll advocate. As a matter of fact, having said about the playoffs, I will say that playoffs at this point, at least in MLS, are necessary. Okay, because at some point, I don't know, maybe 2/3 of the season gone, there will be a bunch of teams in the bottom who had nothing to play for otherwise if there was a single table and there were no playoffs.
I would like to think that the playoffs
and no relegation. Okay, all right.
I like
so that's why I'm not an advocate of single table is way superior. However, I'm not an advocate because nobody would care if Real Salt Lake was out of it, with 10 games to go, or whoever, LA Galaxy, if they were out of it, that's it. Nobody would go to the games. Okay. You're
literally looking at empty stadiums. I agree with you on that.
If there were no danger of your team going down to the second division, that's it. There's nothing because, as a matter of fact, if you look at other countries, teams who are like fighting relegation, their stadiums are packed at the end of the season.
Yeah, because it's life and death.
Because it's life and death.
Right, your team goes down.
It's not life and death here.
Okay? I want Everton to go down just to laugh about it.
Well, listen.
I mean, really. I mean,
listen.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have cared. But you know what? My buddy Mike Kane, he's an Everton fan, so I'm glad for him that they didn't go down. But Leeds United, I don't care. Southampton, I don't care. And who was the other?
Leicester.
Leicester City. Leicester City won the Premier League, man.
Plus they won I don't care either.
Plus they won an FA Cup. Okay, so there's.
Let me
Go ahead.
I really just want to counter this before you move on too much. You were talking about how the lower professional leagues are a lot of times teams just drop out. Teams die like every season. So I know you have. And it was rough, man. I was the last NASL intern, man. I saw stuff. It was rough.
Cosmos are a perfect example of that.
Cosmos are a perfect example.
Yeah.
And they are a poster child of things to happen. I will say this. If you look at just USL, because take NISA and just please God put it over here. It is not fair to look at that. Look at USL. the last few teams to perish from USL, St. Louis FC died because of MLS, and their owners bought into St. Louis City. Like, that's fine, sure. Ottawa died because of CONCACAFing. Reno died because they were an affiliate of San Jose. San Jose was done, and they couldn't really sustain themselves anymore. Sure, that one. And then you have the two North Carolina teams like North Carolina FC and Charlotte. They were in USL Championship. They dropped themselves down to USL League One. Wonder why they did that. Oh, it's because MLS was coming in. So yeah, like I will say that the professional game, it is far more level, especially in USL. It is far more sustainable and less soccer wars, crazy teams dying in every year. It is better than it has been. That's not an advocation for pro rel. That's just me trying to say, like, I know what you're talking about, and I know that, like, it was bad. We're not at that point anymore. Things are the worst right now is I almost said Rayo OKC. OKC Energy are not playing right now because their field was getting redone and something got screwed up with the field. That's literally it. And that's like the stupidest thing. And Austin Bold is kind of being stupid. But once again, that's kind of MLS. So, I mean, like, the teams aren't happening mostly because of outside factors, because of Major League Soccer, or because of literally Canada saying, nah, you can't play here anymore. It's far more level.
All right, we're gonna leave it right there. Yeah, we're gonna leave it right there because we're running our show.
Sorry.
You know, no, this was a good, you know, this was a very good topic, and you know,
I wanted to ask you some stuff regarding the local leagues, but
go ahead.
Whatever, because you know what, I haven't been to any like local matches like anytime lately. I think I went to see an FC Motown game, you know, several years back, you know, but there used to be several teams in the area that were like USISL, the Long Island Rough Riders, the North Jersey Imperials, the Jersey Dragons, you know. There was like a real good, you know, like a second division or whatever they were at the time, third division team where you could see a bunch of like really exciting games. You know, I got to tell you, those Imperials games that I used to go watch, they were like way more exciting than Metro Stars games, man, you know. But
let me ask you guys this. Let me ask you both this. Is supporting a local team like the Imperials, you know, and such, just as important as supporting an MLS franchise?
Yes.
That was my thing. That was my team. Okay.
So, there's a lot of validity to supporting your local team. Where in many cases, I mean, here in Harlem, we only have one small local team, and they're like way down and run, but they're well supported, and it is the Harlem Lions. But you know, that's it. I mean, you got a lot of other local clubs all dotting, you know, all over the city, and they're strong. They have, you know, very good, strong support. So, MLS. Go ahead.
It's a different animal altogether. I'll just give you like a quick one where in 2022, during the final round of US Open Cup qualifying, Lansdowne Yonkers played CS or SC Vistula Garfield. They did it over in Clifton.
Yeah, Vistula from Clifton, yeah.
Yeah, at Athena Steel Park, right next to the train tracks, man. Everyone liked that Pittsburgh train. Like, NJ trams were rolling by every 30 minutes, man. It was great. But
my kid has played in that field. Yeah, go ahead.
It's a great field. But what I'm getting at is that game, Vistula lost. I was there as a reporter, but a lot of those guys are just talking after the game with fans, with people, with the referees. And when they came up to me, they were like, hey, Mike, do you want to come to our clubhouse and grab a beer? You're not going to get that with like Red Bulls. You're not going to get that with any MLS team.
No, but you know what? Mike, I will tell you that during the Metro Stars days, we could go down to the club right underneath Giant Stadium. We could just walk in and order wherever at the bar.
Seriously.
And the players would walk in. Well, not like Juan Pablo Angel or whoever, but other players would be hanging out with the fans there, you know? like an hour. Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, it happened.
I know that. People have been telling me
this too. You were talking about Long Island Rough Riders.
Yeah.
This year, they're doing great in USL League 2. This year they started their season right now in USL League 2, 3-0, and they are top of the Metro Conference for their league. What's funny is last year in amateurs, 3 New York City adjacent teams, tri area teams, made their finals in their league. Long Island Rough Riders got to the finals of USL League 2. They lost to Ventura County Fusion from California. Queensboro FC2 made the Final Four of the United Premier Soccer League. They lost in the semifinals to a team called Beeman United from Tennessee, who guess who plays for that team? Poku, the New York City FC Legends.
I want to know what happened to him. There he is. Man, he was supposed
that's where
to be
him and his brother started a team down in Tennessee, and that's what they're doing. They lost in the national semifinals. That game was played at historic Crew Stadium. And then, of course, FC Motown made the finals of the National Premier Soccer League, and they beat Crossfire Premier at MSU Soccer Park, and they won their national title. Amateur soccer in this area, it's crazy because you have national leagues, you have regional leagues, and you have the state local leagues. Tom was asking in the chat, is there a local team near Sussex County? Tom, go look up on Google Garden State Soccer League, and you will find the entire. If you look through the standings, you look through the teams. There's 3 divisions of it, from Super to B Division. There are a couple teams out in West Jersey. Most of them are in the Northeast, but yeah, there's a couple out there. There's a couple in Northeast PA. It's awesome, and it's all stuff that I love to cover for Hudson River Blue, for the Cup.us, for Red Bulls Nation, whoever wants it, because it's a cool story that should be told.
Thanks a lot, Mike. We're running a little bit over the segment, but that's okay. We're going to talk about the other local teams, which is the New York, New Jersey Gotham FC.
We should go to an hour and a half, Gary. Thank you.
Okay, we'll extend it, of course. Washington Spirit 1-1. They basically
that was a really good game, by the way.
It was a thrilling top of the table clash on Sunday night. It ended in a 1-1 draw with Gotham's Brujina. Oh, did she score beauty?
Oh, no, but not only that, she's like the most skilled player on the team. Just watch those extended highlights.
Absolutely. The result puts Gotham back in first place with 17 points. Washington sits in 5th with just a point behind Sunday's visitors. The Spirit has 16 points in 9 games behind Portland, what a name, ORL Reign in San Diego on goal differential. Speaking about San Diego, they will be taking on the Gotham Girls this upcoming Sunday, and to date, 11,000 tickets have been sold. So sometimes I wonder if they're going to see the Gotham Girls or they actually going down to see Miss Morgan. Meanwhile, later on that week, Huntsville City Red Bulls 2, they beat Huntsville City FC 2-1. On Friday at Joe Davis Stadium. Red Bulls 2 has won 3 matches in a row at that time since August of 2019. Started winning. 9 minutes in. Ronald Doncourt, remember him? And he put the Red Bulls in front of finishing across that Odalio Thomas has set in. Doncourt's goal was his first in New York with MLS Pro. Huntsville came right back in the 18th minute after a Tyler Freeman free kick. It got deflected of the Chris Novik Nisa. And it found the back of the net. Ibrahim Kasuli, he's heating up right now. Gave New York the lead again in the 70th minute after converting a penalty shot that the Ugandan drew himself. So not only he drew the penalty, he actually got the goal. The eventual match winner from Kasuli was his first goal in the season, resulting in the second penalty that is drawn for New York. And so they're going to be traveling after that. They went from there to Orlando City on Monday. Unfortunately, they lost that game by a score of 3-2. They'll be back home to face their team. So both teams are doing quite well. They're moving up into the table, and Gotham FC, while they're at the top of the table, go see them. And now, it's the soccer scene is definitely heating up. We got 3 local teams out there. slowly but surely trying to draw attendance. They're getting there. I mean, they've, NYCFC out in Queens, they seem to have a lot more of a healthier crowd over in Citi Field than they do at Yankee Stadium. But Red Bulls is, unless we're giving something away or we're blowing something up, that's the only way the fans are going to come there to see this team. And of course, Gotham FC, they're doing their thing, bringing fans, into Red Bull Arena. Of course, there are lots of, United States women's national team stars to, come to watch them play, including a couple of them, of course, on the squad. And now, of course, naturally, to the answer Lisa's question, there was this. Okay, there was what they call a tortilla challenge, and I figured I'd just simply play it in front of everyone right now.
Essa é pra você, né? Não. Okay. Well done.
Got some weight on it.
Oh, that's... Pode vir. Não, pode vir. I know. Fica bonitinho. Fica muito mole, mano. Vai. Tchau, acabou. Vem cá, fica aí. Dá saideira. Tá bom, já. Não, acabou. 3-0. Luquinha, manda Luquinha vir, Luquinha. Olha, Luquinha, 3-0, pô. Não.
Okay. That just goes to show you that even footballers know how to play with food.
Yeah, that guy on the left should have been taking target practice, at an empty goal, okay?
I mean,
Thank you.
I mean, instead of slapping each other with tortillas.
Yeah, instead of slapping each other with tortillas, yeah.
All right. Michael, of course, you're coming in, of course, win tomorrow night. They're playing against Inter Miami. We've read it, we know about this team. We read about this team. We wrote about this team. How do you see the Red Bulls facing off with them tomorrow night? Is it a win? Is it a loss? Is it a draw? Or maybe we shouldn't be watching this game entirely. We're talking about two teams that are literally near the bottom of the table. One is in the absolute bottom of the table.
I'm a Miami FC fan, so I don't respect Inter Miami at all. And I expect the Red Bulls to win this game 2-0. I don't respect it. Phil Neville's going to play his kid for all I know.
Oh my God! Can you believe that? He brings on his kid? Okay,
I know, but hey, it's fine. It's worth some tam on that one. Look, until Inter Miami gets messy, if they get messy, he might go to Saudi Arabia now. No one cares.
He's going back to Barcelona.
Even if the Red Bulls, the Red Bulls could be a wooden spoon team, which they pretty much are a contender this year unless they turn things around. I was just still expecting to beat Inter Miami. I just don't. Ever since they got caught by the feds, I just don't expect anything from them.
Caught by the feds.
Am I wrong?
No, you're not. My girlfriend told me about that. I see it as a win. Miguel sees it as a win. Michael Batista sees it as a win. We'll see what happens on Wednesday night. And as that play, we will officially come to the end of the show.
What about Orlando? Are we going to predict Orlando or what?
Okay, we're going to beat Orlando.
Okay, we're going to beat Orlando.
We're going to beat Orlando.
Cup revenge.
Yeah. It's payback time. I mean, I'd say let's run them out. I wouldn't say it's going to be a high scoring game, but I do think we need to start putting in some wins. The team is well aware that time is running out. They need to get something straightened up as soon as possible. So I think it's a 2-0 win for the New York boys.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. As always, we do this, of course, for the people of the group, and we appreciate it. Of course, we do this show for you. Remember, if you missed, of course, the live audience, the live show, remember this is going to be uploaded onto our YouTube channel tomorrow night. So you're going to be able to see this in its entirety, and of course, all the other episodes there as well. You can also get the audio version on Spotify, and of course, all of your podcasts as well. So we want to thank all you guys for joining us for this last hour. For Miguel Nunez or Michael Batista, we thank you guys for coming. We shall see you all next week. More than likely, everybody will be back by then, of course, because the fun will continue as we continue. Fun will continue because we get everything back together. So enjoy the rest of your week, ladies and gentlemen. Hope the Red Bulls win, of course, not only tomorrow night, they have to, and of course Orlando with the fireworks. We know it's going to be a good crowd. We expect to see you guys then. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, thanks very much for joining us. We shall see you next week, and until then, goodbye for now.